Gosh, I can still remember my mother scrubbing clothes on the washboard in a tub, and before she washed her clothes. And she did have a wash machine. So, but, and then, like the road, we had our house, and then there was a road, and that road went back of our house and way over to the left, and it was where they'd had all the fairs and the circuses. It was called the fairgrounds. And so we would see the circuses come in, and the big animals would all come by our house and all turn in that road. We owned the road, but that was the city, it was required. They turn in that road and go back there and set up. And when they rained, that road would get so muddy. The mud was almost up the axles of the big wagons. And so when they would haul the big wagons out of there, they would have an elephant in the back, and it would be pushing the back of the wagon. There was 2 horses in the front. I mean, the mud was that bad they couldn't get through. So that was kind of interesting. Sometimes it'd be 3 or 4 in the morning, and my mother would always wake us up. It was if it was a muddy, rainy time, and because we want to watch that. We're little kids. We wanted to watch those big wagons.
Yeah.
Come
so the
out
wagons
there.
were horse-drawn wagons?
They were horse-drawn, and then the elephant was in the back pushing.
And horse-drawn and elephant pushed.
Yeah, and it was, I don't think anyone would ever see that.
No. So do you think that any of your siblings were actually escaped monkeys?
What?
Do you think any of your brothers and sisters were escaped monkeys from the circus?
I don't think so.
No? And what was your father's name?
His name was Alfred.
Alfred.
They called him Fred. And he was the top man over the North Dakota mill, an elevator company for the state of North Dakota.
Oh, okay.
And and when my father passed away, I wasn't quite 5 years old. And so to me, that was a sad time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was. I was a little girl, and I really thought a lot of my father. And I would go to the table ahead of everybody else. He would sit at the head of the table. I'd sit right by, make sure nobody else got that place next to him. So, But I can remember when my father passed away, that a governor came to my house to pay his respects to my mother. His name was Governor Langer. We had to walk to school, and our school was over a mile away. And when it would storm, we got out early, when we walk home. And it was a long way to walk. And we'd had my mother would put our lunch in a syrup pail. At the end, they had a little syrup pail about this big, and it had a lid on it. And I remember one time in school, I couldn't get the lid off it, and I couldn't eat my lunch, and I cried. The teacher got the lid off.
That's nice of her.
So I could eat my lunch. So it was, one time, and I was always, we'd go after the fairs, we'd go out there with a rake, and we would rake and find money, where people drop. And so I would always go with him. Ever get up early in the morning after the fair, and the two of us were out there, and But and then other things, I would go with him, little things, And he would always, one time there was another couple little boys, young Dad said he wanted to go with, but he didn't want me there. So I was with him out there, and he had these two boys, and one little boy said, I'll give you this if you go home. And it was a wax thumb that had fallen off a wax figure. And he gave me that thumb. I thought it was really sweet. I went home, took the thumb home, and my mother was in the garden, and I went and I showed her that thumb, and she said, oh my gosh. She said, oh, she took the thumb from me and threw it. And I cried, and she threw my thumb away. Then she realized it was what it was. We looked and looked and never found the thumb.
Oh.
That's a crazy story, but, I thought that thumb was really something. That's crazy. Yeah.
That's funny.
But my mother liked to sing, and she sang a lot of the old hymns. And so she, yeah. But she'd read to us, and she used to read The House That Jack Built. You heard that one?
Mm-hmm.
And we were little kids. We were so little that she'd sit in a chair. We'd sit on the floor, and she would read Jack, because that was her favorite, I guess. Mm. And it was a long poem, and she'd read to us.
That's great.
Something different.
Yeah.
Every night she'd read stories, read the Aesop.
Aesop's Fables.
Mm-hmm. She'd read some of those. What am I proud of? I was never a person that really, I guess maybe, I can't say, well, what I think I wanted to be proud of is that I was kind of, most of my brothers and sisters never graduated from school, and I think that I was always very proud of my drawings, and and in later years, I went back and got a GED, and myself, and I finished high school, and I went back with Loud and Dend, and I just had more, wanted to do more mm-hmm. And that always helped me, of course, with jobs and that. So I think maybe I looked out did things maybe that were different than the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
you were being like Winnie.
Yeah, I guess so. And she was like that too.
Yeah.
She graduated did the same thing, so. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, she could take the littlest things and make it nice, and I could too. That's I could make it look nice no matter where I was, what I had. Mm-hmm.
That's great.
I think I've always been a worker. It is hard for me to even sit where I am, I don't even have TV on. I mean, I've got to keep busy. I got to be doing things. I do. I'm not a person that, I just got to find something to do.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any secret talents or skills that?
Well, I do plastic craft. They don't hardly do that anymore. And I used to knit years ago, but I don't knit. I do crochet, and I like all that.
What about playing the chanter?
Oh, I took lessons for the bagpipes, and I had my chanter. I used to walk around the house playing my chanter. Yeah, So, Scotland the Brave, that was my favorite. And in California, I went to lessons, and the teacher was one that also taught the bagpipe band that they had for the for Lockheed. They had a big backpack pad. He was their teacher. He was the teacher I had. And it was strange because when I was going to that class, one of the men that were there was a man that I went to school with. And we were surprised to see one another after many, many years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
We recognized, he recognized me before. Then I recognized him, you know.
Did he call you Tiny?
No, they didn't call me Tiny. But my family, my sister, she called me Tiny Ann all my life.
Tiny Ann.
Tiny Ann, she called me. See, that's my middle name is Ann. She always called me that, my one sister.
Huh.
Yeah, so, you know. But when I was born, I had a heart problem. And so I would faint all the time, especially if I got excited over something. And so I was always, as I was starting to grow, getting older, everything I did was, don't do that, Catherine. You should be doing that. No, don't do that. And so I was my mother said I was most stubborn of all her children. I would deliberately do things because I wasn't going to have it. They would tell me, you can't do that. So nobody would take me to see Santa Claus because I'd faint. So my mother always took me to see Santa Claus. I can remember fainting on the bus on the way home from Santa Claus.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And my sister always wanted to race to the mailbox, which was like maybe 5 or 6 mailboxes. And we were on the farm road, and these were different ones you come and get the mail. And so we had a couple blocks to get there, you know. And so my sister would always want to race, and every time I raced with her, I fainted.
Oh, no.
And I would be, well, then the mailman would take me home if he was there. And if he wasn't, then I would just wait till I woke up. And we were talking about different things the last time I seen her. And she said, oh, I can remember, she said, when we would race to the mailbox and you would faint and I would just leave you there. I said, Beverly, that's terrible. I used to feel so bad over that. I said, shame on you for doing that. So she was younger than I, but she was bigger than I, taller than I. And but I never liked the mailman taking me home. So
you didn't like that?
Well, no, it was embarrassing by that
Yeah.
time, you know. Time went by. But as the doctors always said, I'll grow out of it this time. Well, I did as time went by. But I got so I could tell when it was going to happen. And I would immediately find it, you know, sit down and so, yeah. So it was, but people would say, oh, don't do that. You should be doing that. No. And then I got lots of freckles. That was another thing. And so and I didn't like all my freckles. And so then my mother would put shirts on me. In the summertime, it was so hot because she said I had to have it because I burned too bad. Oh. And one time we went over to the fair and they were giving prizes away for different things. And I happened to be walking, and we walked by the stage, and they were looking for someone with the most freckles. And they said, well, there's the little girl. There's a little girl with lots of freckles. I was so embarrassed, and I must have been maybe 8, 9 years old. And they came and gave me this prize for movie tickets. And I didn't want them, and I didn't want to go up there. I was so upset because this man was for the most freckles. and I never even went to the movie. I was so upset over him. I didn't like my freckles.
That's
So, crazy, but, and I had a nephew, and he had lots of freckles. And when we would play, we'd play cowboys a lot of times, Indians and stuff. And he called himself the Freckled Kid all the time.
the freckled
The
what?
Freckled Kid.
Freckled kid.
Yep, he was going to be the villain, and he was always the Freckled Kid. and when I was a young girl, little girl, they had about a couple miles away in the car, they had a coulee. You know what the coulees were, rivers like. We call them coulees. They were small rivers.
Okay.
Okay. There was an old covered wagon out there. And we would play on that covered wagon. And we would play cowboys and Indians and stuff like that, which the little boys would. Then also out there was, you know how you see those, when you go into the big ranches, like in movies, High Chaparral, you see, or some of those old movie things, and you see the big gate with it. There was a big gate like that out there, and it's in Eckerman Range. I don't know if there was a ranch there or what it was, but that Eckerman Range thing was there, like where you drive through. It was still there, and it was made out of logs, and then in the top, it was carved in, and so we often wonder why it said that, Well, anyway, this coulee would get high in the spring, the water, but otherwise we could walk across it on stones. And but then some of the big boys or somebody from town came out. They pushed that old wagon in the river, and it went down the river, So that was the end of the covered wagon.
Bummer.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, but then there was the Bakers. They lived out there too. They had a big farm and lots of cattle, and so you were like a big ranch out there. So it was, and so they did. So then where their big ranch, there was also a big coulee, but it was a bigger one, bigger. And the boys would take rafts and go out on it, and they'd skinny dip. Girls never went there, only the boys. So, yeah. And one time they were there, and the two Overby boys, they had a big fight. The boys did. They shot and killed one of the boys on the raft.
Wow.
Yeah, and the Steiner boy came. We were the closest for them to come through a telephone or anything. The Steiner boy, that must have been 2 miles or more, 3 miles around the country. He ran all the way to our place and told my mother what happened. And she said my mother called, but the Steiner boy stuttered real bad. He had a terrible time. And so she called the police, and the boys, I don't know why both of them, they went to jail for a few years. So for just shooting this boy. So anyway, but
wow.
no exciting things happened. So
That's pretty exciting.
that was exciting. I
Yeah.
don't know. Almost every night we used to play Monopoly when we got a little older. We play Monopoly almost. And then there was a neighbor would come over, and he would play Monopoly with us. So, yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah. We had,
Was it the same game for years and years?
what?
Did you ever finish a game?
I don't know if we ever did.
What would you like your legacy?
My legacy?
Legacy. Have you ever
Oh
thought
my
about
goodness. My legacy? I would like to known as a person that would help people. I worked for hospice, for a while, and I don't know. I don't know what to, I mean, that's the bad part because I was so. People could use me so easily because I was too good, That could happen. But I'm glad I was. It's what I wanted to be,
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't, then I would be, And when I belonged to the clubs, a lot of times I would bring something special for the people. I would make something special every year for the people at the club. There were like from 15 to 20 of us. I would make something for Christmas. I would bring different kinds of cookies, breads and things, and have a little Christmas party. But I was just a kind person, and I enjoy doing these things. So,
I know the kids all appreciate the birthday cards that you send.
yeah, I always, something, I don't know after I get over there how I'm going to do all that, but I don't know if I can or not, but do it as long as I can. So, I started that years ago.
Yeah.
But then when they get to where they're out of high school, out of college and that, I have no more. They can go out and do it night, yeah. This was Jordan's last year.
Okay.
See, he don't get it now. He's on his own.
Poor Jordan.
So we're Alyssa 1 more year, GP. So that's a long time. Yeah. This maybe isn't a very nice story. We used to go see when my mother would come, we'd take her to see an aunt and uncle of hers. They were elderly people. And one time we went, and she was really quite deaf, but he would do most of the talking. And all the time we were there, she would be letting air out of herself. And we could hardly stand it there. We could hardly stand being there. And so my mother thought it was terrible. But she probably couldn't hear herself. And he would keep looking at her. And it wasn't a nice visit. But I did, he as a rule likes to go there. And Willis had some nice aunts I used to like. Every time we went to one of Willis's aunts, she had to make hash browns for Willis. No matter what time of the day it was the evening. Oh, I got to make your hash brown. No, you like them so well. So they owned the meat store. So yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. I said I shouldn't tell that one, but all your experiences in life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I shouldn't laugh. Oh, well. My voice isn't very good. I don't talk enough, for one thing. I can only talk to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm here alone most of the time, so.
You need more visitors then?
What?
Do you want more visitors?
Would I want more visitors? Not terrible, isn't it? But not really. I mean, I kind of like to be alone and not be too many,
Yeah, I mean, some is good, but not too much.
No, I don't get out and around very much anymore. I used to, every day almost I get out, but I don't so much. Now I just don't feel like it. I don't feel so good all the time. And my coordination is not good, and I'm so slow. So Well, I'll walk to the mailbox or I'll walk down here the block and back. But that's about it. I had a cousin that was blind. It was a relative of my mother's. And his name was Bob Frank. And every year when he would come he would go up to the blind school in Bathgate, which was in North Dakota. And then on the way home, my mother would meet the train, and he would come and spend 2 weeks in our house. And we would have a lot of fun with him. Even though he was blind, he played the trumpet, I remember. And so and we would take him down the railroad track, and he could walk those rails, even though he was blind. Strange, but he did. And he was a lot of fun.
And how was he related to you?
He was my mother's cousin's boy.
Okay.
So he wasn't really, kind of a cousin. Yeah. Well, his name was Bob Orchard. We had Bob Frank, too. His name was Bob Orchard. And he lived in Devil's Lake, Minnesota, North Dakota. Bob Frank was Aunt Elta's boy. So, so he lived in Hibbing, of course. So, but we always look forward to Bob coming there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he could do so many things that and watching him and take care. He really could do a lot of things for a blind person. So,